Do you feel that your son or daughter is failing in school, in their education, or do you feel that the school system is failing them? We're going to talk about that and so much more today because it's a fantastic question that's come into us from Derek and Michaela. We're going to talk about that and so much more on this episode of Going Deeper, so welcome.
Welcome to today's episode of Going Deeper with John Morris. Join the show that tackles the topics that many around the world struggle with on a day-to-day basis. From mental and physical health to emotional and spiritual well-being. But that's not all. John also shares his teaching on more focused topics, such as anxiety, self-image, gaining employment, the importance of educating oneself, developing a deeper spiritual connection, mental and physical well-being, and so much more. Want to be the best you can be? You're in the right place. And now please welcome Mind, Body and Soul's very own John Morris.
Hey folks, and welcome. Hoping you're doing well wherever you are in the world today. I am John Morris, your host as always, the psychologist and training philosopher, theologian and business guy as well. But more importantly, I'm the guy that's going to help you get from where you are to where you want to be with step-by-step and simple teaching, reminding you that balance is key. And with that in mind, I want to answer a question today that's come in from Derek and Michaela. And it's a really interesting question because they were telling a story about their son and daughter, and they were saying how they were struggling in school, how there's not enough contact hours with teachers, and how the teachers just seem to be running off the feet. And then we basically just asked the question, do you feel that the school system is failing your child, or do you feel that the child is failing the school system? And I started to think about this, and they said, well, John, what's the answer? And I said, well, give me some time, I need to think about it. So let's look at the dynamics here, shall we? You've got the two extremes. Remember I said right at the beginning of the show, balance is key. It's very important. I tend to look at things from the two extremes and then bring them together into the center. So your two extremes are your son or daughter is really struggling in school. They're not getting enough time with teachers. They're not maybe getting enough support or whatever it might be. The other extreme on that is the teacher's expectations, or the expectations of the teachers now, are really high. Teachers are expected to do insane levels of work, and this is a global problem. Years and years ago, folks, it used to be a case of you would go to school, you would learn some lessons, and the teachers would finish more or less when you did. They'd maybe open, if classes started at 9 o'clock or 9 a.m. and finished at 3, the teachers would probably go in, maybe 8 o'clock, okay? And they set up their class, they write on the board, and they're ready for you guys coming in, or for your children coming in, or if you're a mature student, they're ready for you coming in. Then, when class finished at 3 o'clock, it was a case of, right, okay, if you don't have a meeting to go to, you can just go home and you prepare your work for the next day. You know what you're talking about, you know what's going on, right? It has changed in a humongous way that now every single lesson has to be viewed beforehand. Every single lesson has to be written about. Everything has to have a report. Everything, has to be marked. Everything has to be graded. Everything, more and more precious. Then you've got all these different organizations that want to make sure that teachers are doing their job properly, and so there's more and more stress that's coming on. Then you've got all these different governing bodies and governing boards, and it just goes on and on and on. Are you bored yet? I don't blame you, because I am. Just saying all this alone spells out to me where the problem is. Because teachers have so much more expected of them, they're not able to give as much attention to the children as the children perhaps need. Now, the question is the school system failing the children, or is the child failing themselves? Now, our view of education has changed as well. Again, it used to be where you'd go to school, you'd learn a broad overview of a lot of different subjects, then you would possibly go into university, or you would go into work or an apprenticeship. You'd go into university to study your favourite course or your favourite subject, get a degree in it or whatever it might be, and then you would go on to further education possibly, or you would go into the workplace. You'd apply your trade. Now it's different again because we have LGBT stuff that's in school, LGBTQI, for example, that's in school. And if you haven't seen the show that Alicia and I did about should LGBTQI be allowed in schools and be taught in schools, go and watch part 1 and part 2 because I think it will give you some very, very interesting insights that maybe you haven't considered rather than making the gut reaction of just saying yes or no. Okay, we want to give you some information, some facts and figures in this, so definitely go and check that out. But children are now being educated, I guess, more about the world that is around them and to prepare them for the world that they are going to encounter. The world has changed, and never before have you been able to say at 10 years old, well, I don't want to learn this, I want to study gaming. And that's what I want to make my main focus. And we're going to be talking about that in a couple of weeks in an episode called Studying for Success. So, let's come down to the final question, shall we? Because I know I've spent enough time kind of expressing the issue and the concern. Is the school system failing our children? Well, I guess then you would have to ask yourself the question, what is the expectation from the school system, the governing board, and what is the expectation of the governing board? Now, I think the expectation from the governing board is that they provide a basic overview of as many subjects and as many life encounters as they can, and if that's the case, then yes, they've ticked the box. However, my biggest question is, when children leave high school and become adults, or they go into further education stuff, are they ready for the world? And in my view, and from the coach or from the clients that I've coached, my answer would be no. Because the amount of children that have said to me, and teenagers in fact, the amount of them that have said time and time again, I just feel like I'm being thrown out into the world. You leave school in Scotland when you're 18, and you're thrown out into the world and just expected to know what to do. And the fact that so many children feel a severe case of overwhelm tells me that the school system has failed in teaching them how to progress in their life. And that is something that they need to do. And how do I mean that? Well, they're not being taught, for example, how to think. They may be being taught what to think, but they're not being taught how to think. That's the first thing. They're not being taught how to manage their money more often than not. There's not a course on that. They're not being told, how to sell a product. And they're not being told how to market themselves. Now, sales and marketing, it doesn't matter what you do, from a priest to a vicar, to a neurobiologist, to a surgeon, to a quantum physicist, all need some form of sales. And if you're working in retail, whether it's in a shop, whether it's in your own business or things, you need to know how to sell. But on the flip side of that, you also need to know how to market yourself. That is one of the services that we have taken advantage of because, again, it's not being taught. And if you are one of my coaching clients, whether you are a teenager, whether you're an adult, one of the things that I will always say to you, if you come to me and say, John, I want to progress in life, but I don't know where I'm going. First of all, we'll get clear. Second of all, your homework will be learn sales. Learn how to market yourself. Why? Because if you go for a job, regardless of your age, you need to be able to market yourself. You need to know clearly how to answer the questions that the potential employer is looking for. And I've covered that obviously in previous episodes of Going Deeper. So the school system from that point of view is failing the children. They're teaching a lot of things, but I don't think they're teaching what the children really need to know. Yes, they're teaching about LGBTQI and it's very, very important. They're teaching basic maths, they're teaching science and all of the other broad overview stuff. But my question is, how many of you watching this, if you're parents, if you're grandparents, and even if you're teenagers, how many of you have actually applied, trigonomics or maybe statistics? I apply statistics because that's part of my business. But how many of you have done that or, thought about geography, for example, in your business or your job? Not many. Whereas if you'd had a course that said, right, here's how to manage your money. Here's actually how to manage yourself. Here's how to think. It goes back to the show we did a couple of weeks ago on boredom. That's interesting, isn't it? How many people do you think would sign up for that? Here's actually how to learn life skills. I think a lot of people would sign up for that as well. Here's how to market yourself. Here's how to sell, and here's how to get a job. You did a course like that, my goodness, it'd be incredible. So I would conclude that the school system is, again, if they're going by that definition of giving a broad overview to teach the children what to expect when they're going out into the world, yes, I would say they've given a broad overview and they've taught about a lot of life things. However, if it is to make a child successful, provide them with all the tools that they're going to need in order for success, then no, they have not achieved that goal, and that is something that needs to be addressed really, really fast. Because if you can do that, if you could teach a child, for example, rather than saying, I want a job, to ask themselves the question, and again, this comes back to again, managing yourself and asking the wise questions. But if you could say to a child, okay, rather than you want a job, what you actually want is to be of service. You want to find a way to provide a level of service to a company that they're going to employ you. Remember, every single employer, myself included, is looking for a few things. They want to know your customer service skills are good. They're going to want to know that you can be a good part of the team. They want to know that you can build their customer service, decrease their outgoings, and increase their income. If you can do those 4 things and you can show them a plan, you will almost guaranteed get the job. Now, how do I know this? Because there are, gosh, I don't know how many millions of people that are unemployed here in the UK. And globally, it's probably in the billions. What do you think the chances are if a child was actually able to say, and go in confidently to a job situation and say, well, Mr. Tesla, Mr. Apple, Mrs. Nokia, Mrs. Whatever. What do you think, Mrs. NASA, what do you think the chances are then, if they can say that they're going to be given that job? But again, they're not taught. So yes, the school system is failing the children. And that doesn't matter whether it's in college or whether it's university or whether or not it's whatever it might be. Yes, you're going to learn about that subject and that's great, wonderful. But the biggest thing is, do you know how to apply the damn thing? You know what I mean? Because if you don't know how to apply it, it doesn't matter how good you are at it. It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. What are your thoughts on this subject? Do you think the school system is failing your kids? Did it fail you? Or do you think that the kids are failing the school system? Are they just not putting in the hard work? Are they just disinterested in the subject that's being taught? What do we need to do? What are your thoughts on this? I'm really interested to know. And on that note, folks, we're going to wrap up for today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Going Deeper, talking about, is the school system failing your child or is your child failing the school system? And everything that was there. If you did, make sure to like, share and subscribe. Tell a friend, because it could be the very thing that helps them in their time of struggle. Don't forget, as always, if you want to support the show, which we encourage you to do, get in touch with us. You can go and do it right now on patreon.com/mind, body and soul. The link is in the caption section below. And it means then that we are, again, we're able to continue putting out phenomenal content. And it means that you're actually supporting the work that's going on as well. And it's changing the lives of teenagers. It's changing the lives of so many people around the world. Until next time, I have been your host, John Morris, the psychologist in training, the philosopher, the theologian, and the business guy, helping you get from where you are to where you want to be. Remember, balance is key. Remember that always. Balance is key, because when we're in balance, everything naturally just flows to us. We're more aware, we're more appreciative, we're more grateful for everything that we have in our life. When we're out of balance, that's when overwhelm and sickness and anxiety and all the other horrible things that can happen to us will happen. And it's important to understand how powerful balance is. Have an amazing week, guys. Take care, God bless. I will see you same place, same time, next time. Take care.
When you're feeling all alone, only you to hold your own. No one there to help you, only there to hold you down. So stop